and welcome to our How to Play video for Good Society. In this video, we're actually going to be playing a game of Good Society, but I'll be explaining everything as we go, and hopefully that'll make it really clear to you as we move through each stage of the game what you need to do with your group to make the game run smoothly. We had a video prior to this where we explained a bit about the game and collaborative storytelling and where the game is set, which is in the small town of Haberdasher, just a few hours ride from London. Good Society works using a defined structure to help the game feel more like an Austen novel. And every time you start a new game, the first thing we're going to do is complete 2 steps. The collaboration step, where we make choices about the kind of game we want to play and make sure we're all on the same page. And then the backstory step, where we get to create our major characters and connections. Once we finish collaboration and backstory, we'll enter what is called the cycle of play. The cycle of play is made up of a series of phases which occur in a certain order, and we'll be repeating those phases throughout play to form the meat of the game. So that's why it's called the cycle of play, because it's a cycle. Before we jump into collaboration, I have gone ahead and prepared our game for us today. So we're going to have 3 major characters in our game. I'm going to be the facilitator, but I'm also going to be playing a major character, so there's enough scandal, drama, and action. The other thing that I've done is decided that we are going to use a play set in full. So what that means is that you can see in front of you that I've assembled sets of desires, relationships, character roles, and family backgrounds. The other option would have been for me to use a play set in part, which would mean that I would just put in front of you the desires and relationships, and we would have come back and selected character roles and family backgrounds later in the game. And the other decision I've made is sort of approximating the length of the game. So I've prepared this for a game that's going to take about 4 cycles, which normally would take about 5 or 6 sessions to play. I will explain all the rules of the game as we go. So the first thing we're going to do is jump into collaboration. And what I'm going to do here is I've printed out the collaboration section of the book. And we're going to go through each question and make decisions about the kind of game we want to play. And then I'm going to note down those on the public information sheet, which is this doohickey here. All right, so the first question is, and I'm going to shamelessly read from the sheet here.
Please do.
What tone should the story have? So our 3 options are drama, things are difficult and actions have serious consequences, tensions are quick to inflame, connections viciously pursue their own ends, and society is harsh and judgmental. Romantic comedy, actions have consequences, but past misdemeanors can be recovered from. Fortunate and humorous coincidences can occur, and triumphant moments are possible. Connections respect their own interests, but can be swayed, and society is quick to judge, but also quick to forget. And then finally, the Oscar Wilde edition of the game, which is fast. Actions have few consequences outside the current scene. Improbable coincidences and circumstances are manifold, and connections may change their minds rapidly. Society is prone to excessive silliness.
I love the excessive silliness, isn't it?
I also like drama.
You like drama?
I like things being extremely over the top, but
So I think in terms of drama is sort of actually a more serious and emotional version of the game, whereas if you wanted to play a melodrama, I think you'd actually go for the fast tone.
Okay, yeah.
I think we can do a steady balance and do the middle option and do like romantic comedy. So there's like periods where we can be serious and like it'd be cool to
so you get
also
the whole
have,
range of emotion.
or more concentrated towards the middle.
Yeah.
So romantic comedy is underlined in the book, and what that means, it's the default option as well. So if you're playing for the first time, it's a really good place to start. So let's go ahead with romantic comedy.
Sounds awesome.
Mark it on the sheet.
Yeah.
So our next question is, how important is historical accuracy? And our options are a little important. We'll do the best job we can, but story is much more important than history. Somewhat important. We'll try to get it right where it counts, but we'll never stop the game to find out a historical fact. During breaks, we will call on other players with more knowledge when something seems particularly important, and if we're not sure, we'll make the best guess we can. Or very important, which is that we commit to arming ourselves with knowledge ahead of time to enable more historical accuracy. We will call on the expertise of other players to help us get it right. We'll avoid stopping the game, but can look things up during breaks and between sessions to help with further play. I would say very important is probably out, given that we haven't armed ourselves ahead of
We
time.
have not.
Well, look, I mean, I love history as much as the next person, but I'm not currently forearmed with facts about
The Regency
every
period.
aspect of the Regency period.
I don't know what you think, Sam, but I'm leaning towards like a little.
Yeah, I think I'd go with that.
Yeah, like
That sounds good
yes,
to me.
yeah.
So our next question is, how will we treat the gender power balance? And the answer to this question doesn't need to change anything aesthetic about the world unless we want to. So it's open to us to leave it the way it is or change it around depending on what option we prefer. So the three options here are historical, which is standard Regency patriarchy. Off, which means it is normal and acceptable for people of all genders to have significant and respectable careers, make the first move, inherit entailed estates, and have marital relationships with all genders. And then in reverse, which means it is normal and acceptable that only women may have significant and respectable careers, make the first move, and inherit entailed estates.
Your standard Regency matriarchy.
Exactly.
Obviously, historical is the easiest by default because we all live in a patriarchy, but
we're so used to it.
I could advocate for off.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind in reverse, honestly. That sounds pretty good too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty keen on either of those.
Ew. I'd go for off, maybe.
Yeah.
Off sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Sounds
with off.
fun.
Now my question is, how does very important historical accuracy work with like non-standard patriarchal kind of society setups? Does it still kind of mesh well together, or?
They do mesh well together because you basically take the historical knowledge you have and you just change it.
Right.
So you still have the advantage of being like, oh, this kind of dresses in fashion, or this is when the war occurred, but you just remove the bit where only men could fight in that war.
Okay, that makes sense.
So,
the note-taking thing.
so our next question is, how much hidden information will be used in the game? And for the moment, I put all the desire cards with the secret side facing down so that we can make a choice about this. And this question really determines whether any information in the game will be hidden from players. So most characters in the fiction won't be privy to the desires of the other characters, no matter which option we select. And this is a player level exercise. And we've got two options here, which is that none. Desires and private relationships will all be public player knowledge. Of course, they'll remain secret to the characters in the fiction. And then some, which is that the relationships will be open player knowledge, but the desires will remain hidden from the other players at the table.
I mean, like none's nice for like learning, but some also sounds pretty fun. I don't know. I'm like, I just like hidden information. I just like wondering why people are acting certain. I don't know. Sounds pretty interesting. But I wouldn't. Either one works pretty well, I think.
Yeah, it might be interesting because then we can read all of the desires. I know you haven't seen it.
Yeah. So I mean, look, none's pretty good for learning. I think probably just so you can
it's
kind of
good
like
to
see.
what's
I like the advantage of none is that you can really lean into the drama, whereas I think the advantage of like some is that it creates some organic drama. But I think for a first game, none is a really good option. So if you just want to take the desire card in front of you and
We're gonna
flip
flip
it
them over. Oh boy.
We can read them all.
But we will move on to reading those very shortly. We have one very important question. The last question in the collaboration phase is whether there's anything that we want to avoid during the game. And this can be something that we want to avoid because it makes us uncomfortable. Or it can just be something that we're not interested in exploring.
I'd like to veto any marriages having the option for someone to burst into the room and declare the marriage should not go ahead, because I really just dislike that trope.
That trope.
Well, yeah,
that's my only request.
We can veto that. No alter altercations.
Okay.
That's right. Altercations, please. None of those. That's my only request.
Okay, I'm good.
So in this game, we will be playing with the X card. I have made a beautiful X card right here. And what the X card is, it's a player safety tool to make sure that we all feel comfortable at the table. So anytime in the game, if you feel uncomfortable, you can hold up the X card, you can tap the X card, or you can just make an X, or you can just say X card is also good. And we will stop play. We won't ask you why you used the X card. The only thing we might ask you is if we take this story in X different direction, is that okay with you? And that's just to make sure that we all both feel comfortable during play, but also know that if things do get uncomfortable, we do have a way that we can express that without needing to be like, hey, These are everything.
Here's all the reasons I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what it brings up for me.
Yeah.
I love talking about this to large groups of people.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a really great safety tool.
So I think this here that says anything we'd like to see, I would like to add in a romantic kiss.
Okay.
Now we've finished collaboration, we're going to move on to the backstory phase. And this phase has two parts. In the first part, we're going to be creating our major characters. So in Good Society, each player takes on the role of the major characters, who are like form the central focus of gameplay. And each major character, as I sort of alluded to before, is made up of 4 components. So the first one is their desire, which is a burning hope or passion that they wish to accomplish during the game. The second one is a relationship, which is a connection they form with another character, such as we've got object of affection, rival, and former friend. Mm-hmm. The third one is their character roles, so the archetype that they play in Austen's world, such as the socialite, the meddler, or the hedonist. And the last one is their family background, so the military, peerage, and new money in this case. The first step in the backstory is to set up your playset. Now, I've already done this, and as I mentioned before, we're playing with the playsets in full, which means that I've got the desire, the relationship, the character role, and the family background already sorted into sets. If we were playing with it in part, I would have just the desires and the relationships, and I'd have all of the family backgrounds and all of the character roles on the side for us to choose from later in the process. But in this case, what you see is what you get.
Cool.
And of course, as we're playing with no hidden information, the desire cards are all face up. If we were playing with some hidden information, those would still be face down. Now we move on to step 2, which is to select a desire and then take the corresponding set. So if you want to go ahead now and read these desire cards, if in the case there was hidden information and you picked up your desire and you didn't like it, you would have the opportunity to swap that for a spare from the playset as well.
Like this one. Yeah, you bolster your love interest reputation, and then you can marry them. You're like, hey, look at this respectable person I want to marry. Look how respectable they are. Right. Slide.
I'm gonna slide these.
All right, look, I'll just take this one. That sounds pretty great.
I think I haven't done this one. Yeah, so
okay. I will take this one. This one looks exciting. So my desire is restore your reputation and be forgiven by your former friend. Once you enjoyed the pleasures of friendly company and good opinion, until in a single instant your mad passions led you to throw it all away. In one rash act you wronged another deeply and plunged yourself into interminable disrepute. Now all you seek is to bury your past, regain your good name, and find forgiveness.
I have desire number 5. Come into substantial wealth while ensuring your reputation stays absolutely impeccable. I've always had a taste for luxury, be it grand balls, expensive clothing, or the racetrack. But now my debts are severe and the time to pay is fast approaching. I need money fast. You can't let anyone know your true situation. However, as your good opinion and the help you receive from others would both be lost.
I have desire number 9. This is a pretty spicy one. I get to bolster my love interest reputation and then win my parents' permission to marry them. In an ideal world, one is not dependent on the permission of one's parents to pursue their deepest and most ardent affections. And while this is only a little historical world, that sadly is not an ideal world. And if I want to wed without losing that sweet inheritance, which I need to pursue my hedonist ways, I'll need permission from mummy and daddy. And of course, pleasing them means choosing a spouse with a completely impeccable reputation, which apparently I have to build for them because I'm assuming that they're a little bit tarnished at the moment. Yeah. My parents would never approve of me marrying them, and I have to work on this. So I have to create a parent as a mandatory connection.
We've read our desires out loud because we're not playing with any secret information. However, if you are playing with secret information, there are still some things that you will need to reveal during this step. If any of the cards had public knowledge on them, which none of these ones do, that's something that you have to share, whether your desire is secret or not.
So they will specify that on the card?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So the next thing we're going to do is form relationships between our characters. We all have a relationship card. Yep. So what we're going to do is take these relationship cards and turn them private side up so that we can see the juicier side of the card. So my relationship card is former friend. The giver of this card wronged the taker painfully and completely.
I've got a rival. The giver and taker of this card are rivals. For the taker, this may be a trivial rivalry. For the giver, it is certainly a bitter one.
And I have, of course, my object of affection whose reputation I must bolster.
I know.
I'm clearly in love with them. Whether they choose to reciprocate this affection is entirely up to them, which raises the possibility I'm going to build the reputation of someone who doesn't even love me, and then seek permission to marry them and be probably brutally rejected.
And that is classic Austen.
Yes.
That is how you know you're playing the right game.
So you notice that in each of these cards it uses the terminology giver and taker.
Mm-hmm.
So the giver is us, the person who originally had the card.
Mm-hmm.
The taker is the person who will take their relationship card during this process that we're about to do to show that a relationship has been formed between your characters.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got our cards private side up. We've placed them in front of us. And then now, when one of us believes that a relationship would be perfect for our desire, we can go ahead and grab that to form that connection. This should be a very open process.
Yeah,
so we need a
about
weekly to make this work, and we might not get it completely right on the first try, so it's okay if we swap around. But it's best
we kind of say, can I claim that
Yes.
I'm your former friend?
Yes.
Well, I'm really interested in, because this is going to be, the main thing, because I think either of us could take that at the moment.
Well, what we want to avoid is a situation where two people swap cards. That's the most important
Yes,
thing.
of course.
I mean, in a 3-player game, it's very difficult because the last person can't
Former
use their
friend and
card at
rival,
all.
it's like, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Say you have 4
Actually, that
players
works.
playing, you don't want a situation where 2 people swap cards and the other 2 people swap
Because
cards.
it doesn't encourage play between
There's
other
not
people.
really any connection between those people. It's like, go tell your own novel. Ooh, tell our own novel over here. I think it probably makes a lot of sense for me to be your object of affection because my reputation is really bad, so it just makes everything so hard for your character.
What happened to your reputation again? It fell.
It fell. It just
we
fell.
We don't know. We'll find out.
What happened
Yeah.
was I did something really awful that we don't yet know what it was. And
It was
resultantly,
awful.
It was the
my
talk of the
reputation
town. Everyone was
plunged.
scandalized.
Yes.
Yeah, I could be your former friend, and we can work out why.
The reputation,
Right,
maybe.
so if I
who
take
knows?
this, the giver of this card is you, wronged me would be the taker.
Yes.
Equally and completely.
I
Awesome.
wronged you.
Alright, I can be wronged. I'm
I'm
happy with that.
happy for you to be the
Alright.
object of my affection.
So that makes
You my
Unknown,
rival.
unknown.
So step 4, if we hadn't already got our character role and background, we'd be choosing that now.
Yeah.
But we do, so we can skip that. Hooray for us.
Yay.
So step 5, what we're going to do now is flesh out our characters and discover the meaning of our relationships. And we should definitely talk to each other during that process. But we can also start filling out our character sheets. So just to quickly explain how the character sheets work. So on your character role sheet, you've got your name, your age, your appearance, and temperament. That's all you'll need to fill out for now. However, we'll come back to the other sections of your sheet later. But it is worth noting, down the bottom on that same side, you have a section which will be the meddler is or the socialite is.
Yep.
And that contains the attributes of your character role. So basically the stereotypical things about that character type. So you can use those as an inspiration point when creating your character if you'd like. Below that, very important, is the player principles. So these are the things that, as players, you should do during the game. And it's things like respect the decisions we made earlier in collaboration, take action to pursue desires, accept and orchestrate your major character's own misfortunes, and contribute to the story and support other players. Then on your other sheet, so your family background sheet, you have a starting reputation tag to pick from. So that's something that society thinks about you because of who your family were. Some of the family backgrounds also have other cool things to pick. So I believe Sam has the peerage background, which means that you will get to select a title for your character as well.
Fantastic. I really want to know why we're rivals. I want to
It's
figure
true.
this out.
I know
I'm not
do.
quite sure what happened, but it may
Something-
be they're trying to claim my hedonist title.
Ooh, that's true. Maybe we have some sort of connection from that world. Like
I
we're
am the
both
debaucher at parties, not you. I drink the most.
I threw a party once.
It's a show of of distinction that you're the one who's the most
Having the most fun.
the most fun, the most free with the wine,
Yeah.
the most, gregarious. So
Right.
the fact that you always are around, you're at the same parties I am all the time, showing up, and all you do is try and take the attention away from me.
Yeah, right,
And I am
yeah.
extremely upset about this.
Well, I was thinking to make this rivalry even more acute.
Dear anonymous
Because,
unknown.
I obviously was a close friend of your character, Vicky,
Yes.
and clearly Sam, your character definitionally has a thing for me. So I wonder if that heightens the tension. Tossing out ideas, maybe there was like an unspoken relationship between us. There was some sort of thing between us, but then what happened is you don't have very much money actually, right?
No.
Possibly what I did was like very embarrassingly and publicly either call off an engagement or like say no to a proposal that was very public. So to make it more scandalous, I could have called off an engagement.
Yes.
Because that is like a... But the thing is, I still have feelings for you. But I need money.
So do I.
As part of my card, I have to create and spread a rumor about what I did. And I wonder if that might be...
I would love that if it's like something like actually like society thinks that my family...
because you were secretly short on funds. But the funny double irony of that might be that that's a rumor, and so people are like, some people believe the opposite because they're like,
so you're publicly you're quite flush with funds, but the rumor is that you're not.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the truth is that you're not.
Yeah.
Because they don't know that.
So now, the other thing you need to do once you've kind of figured out your character's appearance and temperament is pick their starting reputation tag, and write that on the public information sheet. So I will take the top spot, and my background is new money, so I am going to take the starting reputation tag. Ambitious sounds like me. That's my positive one.
Alright.
I do, however, have unfortunate connections, which is this like the other reason why Baron Valentine is like a good match for me, because what I don't have is any title or any estate, because I'm coming from new money. I'm deeply in love with Baron Valentine. Deeply in love.
Damn straight. Positive. Take a positive and a negative.
Yes, you do.
I don't know about wise or giving as positive tags. However, I will take famous.
Okay. Oh, famous is perfect.
I think famous would be good.
Claim the
here.
second spot down. Put your character's name in there.
My negative
first.
tag. I think I'd like to go with proud. Actually, I think proud is fine.
Talk of the town is that I am from a very honourable family. I unfortunately have a reputation for being angry. I exemplify the anger of my...
Your family doesn't even give you titles.
Because I come from a military background and I like family blood boils. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just go through and introduce ourselves. Mm-hmm. I am playing Thomas Greenwich. He is the meddler, so he likes to be all up in everybody else's business at all times. And I think he gets that trait from his parents. His parents are from New Money. They're like industrial meddlers. They like know everybody, and like, you see somebody down the road, like my parents know them, and I'm a bit like that as well. I am a vivacious, lively person, but I'm always overdressed for every occasion because I don't understand the correct level of dress for genteel society. As we heard previously, I was formally engaged to Miss Thorne. However, I publicly called off the engagement. The rumour is that it was because the Thornes are in financial ruin. Meanwhile, has love began to blossom between Thomas and Baron Valentine? We'll find out.
Grace Thorne is her. She's about 23 years old, and she is in the military, which is the tradition of her family. We've been military generations up. So she's usually in a cream colored Empire Line dress with a military jacket on top, and I would imagine one of those cape cloaks in red as well. So it's very colorful, and it's very gold lining.
So is she on active duty?
She is, yes, in active duty. Mm-hmm. Duty is important.
Long times away.
That's why. Grace is very confident and charming, and that's how she was raised, with a lot of ego and ability, confidence in your own ability. But when things go wrong, that's when her family can be very, very quick to anger, quick to judgment, quick to action. You don't really have a lot of time to react in the military, so if something goes wrong, you gotta just get in there and fix it. I don't think I dealt very well with your engagement. I think, and that's where I got this angry reputation from, because the way I reacted to that was extremely vengeful, and we like took out bits of the newspaper to say like, how can this slander be put across our name? Look at our estate, look at all of our like regimented soldiers, like we make this country safe, etc. Like it was a bit overboard. So that's Grace. We don't talk anymore since then. Like
So I have one more question
Yeah.
for you. As a result of my previous improprietous actions, I actually start with one additional negative reputation tag. And it sounds like the reason why people believe that about me is because of whatever it was that your family said after we broke off the engagement.
Oh, damn it.
So
Yes.
So what might that
Yeah.
It would
negative
spread
tag
awful
be?
things.
our family like stood up together and said Thomas is a inconstant, cowardly person. So inconstant.
Inconstant. That it sounds. I think that is not just a reputation. That is perhaps
How you act.
accurately describes my personality.
Yeah.
And that brings us to Sam.
I am Baron Bernard Valentine. Everyone but you must use my title, of course. I'm extremely famous, well known to host lavish parties pretty much all the time, attend whatever the best is going on, even if I'm not invited, as sometimes is the case. Some of the lesser elements of society are very jealous of my success and wealth, and they seek to shut me out. And even, I'm very stylishly dressed. I think I wear extremely extravagant cravats and neckties, and I always have the latest, whatever fabric or something. I am visibly worn and tired all the time because I never sleep. I go to parties, I drink, I have extremely poor lifestyle habits. And so you can see, when you can see me in moments in parties, I just sit down and I'm just just have to take a moment before I launch myself back into the fray. And I'm very showboating. I love being the center of attention at anything, at any event. If I'm not there in charge, I'll find an excuse to storm out and leave.
Yeah.
So we are going to move on to part 2 of the backstory phase, which is creating connections.
Ooh.
So along with our major character, each of us will be playing a supporting character called the connection. You'll be playing one each, and as the facilitator, I'll be playing the remaining connections. Connections are supporting characters that hold tremendous influence over the lives of the major characters. So we may love them, we may hate them, but we can't deny their impact on our lives. And connections have 2 main purposes. So their primary purpose is to complicate the lives of the major characters and make stuff hard for them. And their secondary purpose is to be a tool in the characters' plots and schemes. Connections really exist to serve the story. So we don't need to hear from them if there's no need for them in the story, but they can also come into the story and make things hard and create trouble for the major characters, which is lots of fun. Firstly, you will all need a connection sheet. Depending on the length of the game, there can be some adjustments to the number of connections that we create. In short games, you create fewer connections, but there's a table in the book that describes that. But since we are setting up for a 4-cycle game, we'll be creating the full number of connections, which is 2 connections now, plus a spare that we can create during the game at any time if we want to. If it's I need a disinherited brother.
Or the wine merchant suddenly gains importance in our circles.
Yes.
So the way we're going to create connections is we're going to use the connection cards. So the first thing is that, Sam, you have a mandatory connection,
I have a mother.
which is your parent. And so that will take up one of your spots.
It sure will.
Because you are forced to create that connection, sort of the compensation for that is that you get free reign of what card you want to use. So you can go ahead and pick your mother.
Alright, look.
Done.
What a good
Brilliant.
choice.
What a mother.
I think she's a duchess.
The next thing we're going to do is draw connection cards randomly from the deck. And the number of cards that we draw is equal to the number of connections we're going to be creating plus 2.
Okay.
And that isn't reduced for the mandatory connection, so we're all going to get 4 cards. So.
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, a military man.
Then, what we are going to do is pair these cards we've got with the connection options on our sheet. For example, the medal sheet has got parent, child, sibling, estranged sibling, distant cousin, and I've got these cards in front of me. So I'm thinking, for example, I've got card number 38A, who's Christine, and I think that I'm going to have Christine be my sibling, because siblings are fun. So I've taken Christine's connection card. There's 2 sides on the card. I can pick which one suits me. I think I'll take the Good Samaritan side, which is side A. And so I get my connection sheet. So relationship is her relationship with me. We're siblings. Her age, I'm going to say she is my older sibling, so she is 30. The opinion section is for her opinion of me. And I think her opinion of me is Thomas is a disgrace. And then there's a section below that where I could put extra notes if I needed to.
When it says played by.
Leave that blank for now,
okay.
Because that's where we'll put it in there once we've picked which of each other's connections.
And the little circle with RT in the top right?
That's for storage between games of how many resolve tokens that connection has. So say they finish a session with 2, you put a 2 there.
And we'll talk about what those do later.
I've made 2 connections. The first is my father, Edwin Thorne. They are a devoted father, an army colonel, and my father, when he's drinking his wine in an active duty, thinks, Grace, she's just the best of them all. The other character I've made is Anna Croft, she, her. So Anna is my commanding officer. She loves the fact that that I buy her drinks, but she actually thinks that Grace is too competent and therefore a threat to her position.
You already know about my sister, Christine Greenwich, who thinks that I am a disgrace. But did you know about the new arrival in town that I have been corresponding with via letters? Jacob Young. He is a curate. So he is aspiring to be the new local vicar. And he believes that Thomas is his in to the town's social life.
Little does he
maybe
know.
Haven't told him about anything.
He may be a little bit confused.
And Sam?
Well, of course, my mother, Duchess Hilda Valentine. She believes that I am the hope of the dynasty. Much to her, sometimes she doesn't worry too much about the partying. She thinks that's a sign of healthy socializing. But she does think I'd overdo it a little, and she wishes that I would sometimes do some more serious things, like maybe finally get married to somebody and start doing something for the dynasty for once, rather than thinking about myself.
Right, I see. You need to continue the dynasty.
She sometimes cuts off my allowance in fits of melancholy and disappointment, but then she always restores it before the end of the month. So I just have to go back to her and be like, Mother, please. And then she's like, oh, well, just this once.
Amazing.
And then my younger brother, Mortimer Valentine, he's a horticulturalist. He didn't really get much of the pie, of the family pie. He went off to do some intellectual pursuits. We're not quite sure why he's doing that or what he's doing, but we talk to him from time to time. He thinks I'm a feckless reveler. He doesn't really it's like, why you party all the time? You could be doing something to advance humanity, to help people, and he occasionally does work with the university.
That's so great.
So now you will both select one of these connections. Obviously you can't pick your own, that you wish to play during the game. And then I will play.
I already know. I want to play Mortimer.
I wanted to play Mortimer.
No!
No, that's cool. No, I think you'll make a great Mortimer. So do you want to grab Mortimer?
Thanks, facilitator.
I don't want to focus too much on you, so I might try the vicar.
Everyone else will be played by me. Now I've selected which connections we want to play. Each connection gets 2 resolve tokens.
These guys all have 2.
These guys all have 2. So we have finished the backstory stage.
Whoa.
And we are going to launch into play shortly. You'll notice that took us a little bit of time. That is just fine. We are playing a 4-cycle game, so it's going to take several sessions, and it's well worth the time for us to set up these interesting and dynamic characters and relationships. All right. So now we're going to launch into the game, but before we do, I just wanted to explain how to play.
That sounds wonderful. I would really appreciate that.
I would love to know how to play.
I'm going to explain the concepts that we need to know to start the game, but the concepts that are very specific to certain phases, I'll explain those phases as we reach them. So the first thing that I want to talk about is reputation. In Good Society, as you've noted, characters' reputations are represented by adjectives such as honourable and angry, which are called reputation tags. And this describes how society views that character. And if your character accumulates several tags of the same type, it will trigger a reputation condition. So you'll see these on your character roll sheet in the bottom corner. And those are sort of ongoing effects to your character's life that come about as a result of their heightened or diminished reputation. We'll get more into reputation during the reputation phase. The next thing I want to explain is resolve tokens. So these little green guys are resolve tokens. Resolve tokens give you the ability to shape a story in a number of exciting ways. So you can use them to compel other characters to act, to create balls, to overturn carriages, basically have a narrative influence on the story. And so each of us have our own pool of resolve tokens. These are our personal pool. We can use these for whatever we wish. Each connection also has 2 tokens. Those tokens are tokens we can use to bring that connection into the game. Well, you need to use a resolve token when you create, contribute to, or change narrative events that are significant to the story. For example, knowing or doing something that is unlikely, compelling another character to do something, or creating sort of like a change like overturning a carriage or something like that I mentioned before. You do not need to use a resolve token to make changes that aren't really that significant to the story. So for example, to say what colour something is. So sometimes you'll need to enter into a negotiation with another player before you can spend a resolve token. And there's 3 situations in which this happens. Firstly, when you're compelling a character or connection to do something. Secondly, when you're harming the interests of a major character and connection. And thirdly, when you're interfering with the effects of another character's reputation condition. Say I want your commanding officer who believes you're a threat, Anna, to find out that your family is in financial ruin.
In fact,
that would be a resolve token.
That would definitely take a resolve
significant
token.
to the story.
From Anna or from your character?
From Anna, because this is Anna who's doing something. So Anna is doing the finding out. But because this is harmful to Grace's interests, surprise, surprise.
Oh no, it's so bad for the thorns.
I now have to enter into a negotiation process with V. So I say to V, I would like Anna Croft to find out that your family is in financial ruin. And V's got 3 choices. V can either accept the token.
Yes! I would love for that to happen.
Accept the token with conditions.
Yes, but only if Anna has been ordered to give me a promotion.
Or if it's really important and V really doesn't want that to happen, V can also refuse
to say no.
Just say no. And in that case, play goes on uninterrupted. Resolve tokens can be a little confusing at first, but when you start using them, you'll get the hang of them as we start playing. And the next is the inner monologue token. Each player in Good Society has a monologue token, and during the game, we can play that at a moment of appropriate pathos on another major character to hear that major character's internal thoughts and feelings at that time. So it's sort of like the world around them freezes, and then we hear what's going on in their head.
So like when I take the flock of admirers from Baron Valentine, and I'm like, hey, Sam, I'm going to play this on you.
Last thing is inner conflicts. These are created at the end of the first cycle, so when we get to the upkeep phase, I'll explain those. The game is broken up into a series of phases. So what we're going to do now is start the cycle of play, and we're going to be starting with the first phase of the game, which is called a novel chapter phase. And this phase consists of in-character play. In this phase, we have the opportunity to pursue the desires of our characters. So the first thing we do for every novel chapter phase is decide what kind of chapter we want. And there's 3 options here. We can have an event chapter, which is something like a ball or a picnic, a big event where everybody basically has the potential to be in attendance. We can have a series of visitations, which is sort of like a bunch of small scenes between characters, and And when you do that, every player gets an opportunity to initiate a scene. And then the last kind of chapter, which is sort of for special situations, is called a split chapter. And that's where you want to portray events that are happening simultaneously. The first chapter of the game is almost always an event chapter. So we will start with an event, but what we need to do is decide what event we want to situate.
Is one of your parties in?
I think I'm having a party at my Ipswich County Manor.
Is it when Jacob is arriving? Like it's like
His first
why would I be
society.
celebrating this? Now then again, you could have asked me to hold an event for your friend Jacob.
That's true.
And I would very likely have accepted such an act.
I like that.
I like that.
So I want to hear from you, Sam. What does this ball look like? What's the establishing shot we see as we sort of like pan over the ballroom?
It's my country manor, so of course there's a wonderful, spread of tables and food and wine everywhere. And I think that, there's lots of well-dressed people, kind of, mingling and chatting to each other. There's lots of, sofas to sit on and little rooms that nobody's quite sure the function of where people can go off to have private moments. And I'm kind of course, in the middle of all of it.
So towards the beginning of the night, your mother, Hilda, pulls you aside into one of these private rooms and says...
Who invited her?
Well, she lives here. My dear Bernard, it seems that it's another day, another party with you.
Of course, wonderful, isn't it? All these high society people mingling give you a chance to work on the old charm, don't you think?
Well, you do socialize so well, but sometimes I worry. You look so tired lately, so worn down, and your behavior gets so unpredictable especially since you've not yet found somebody to enter into matrimony with.
Oh, mother, if I'm tired, it is only for care for you. I worry about you every day. You yourself are alone in this world, and how can I marry when you yourself have not found someone else? And I take your hand, and I just hold it, and I'm like, I look into your eyes with that Bernard charm.
I am going to spend one of Hilda's resolve tokens.
Yes.
I'm going to enter into a negotiation with you, Sam, and see if you accept this. It's because Hilda's going to do something which is harmful to your interests. Grace's commanding officer, Captain
I'm
Croft.
going to add that to this.
The
Captain
dashing
Croft.
Captain Croft is going to be at this party. Hilda wants to set you up with Captain Croft, and Hilda believes that this is your last chance to prove that you can get on the straight and narrow. Otherwise, Mortimer's going to have to
step up
and take over.
And of course, as
responsibility
she's a
in the family.
military person, she would be, of course, a very respectable individual
and be the appropriate
reform
person
me.
to reform you.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, please. Yes,
So
that
you
sounds...
accept that?
I will absolutely
Alright,
accept
so
that.
that's for you. So
Oh.
Hilda, at first she's won over by the charm. She takes your hand, she looks into your eyes. You see her face melt with buttery warmth, and then it turns stony cold. Bernard, you are the eldest child in this family. You have a responsibility to carry on the family name, and yet you're getting, and I will be frank with you, a little over the hill.
And I kind of just pluck at my neck. I'm like...
To this party, I have invited one Captain Croft, a very respectable and admired military captain. I want you to dance with her. I want you to utilize all your charm on her, and I want you to move things towards wedding bells. If you are not married within the coming month or two, I'm going to have to call Mortimer back from university.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes.
Mortimer, he's happy there.
She flicks her head and huffs out the door.
You wish me to dance with this Anna?
I'll make the introduction, she says as she floats away.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you, mother.
So there's that moment where in the movie version there's the carriages come up and all of these red and gold parade out. So Edwin is there with Anna and Grace as other men and women of the brigade. Anna also has a really lovely, a coat over a dress. And she's got adventurous boots. So it looks like she just spent the afternoon running around and actually doing stuff. Whereas Grace is arriving in her boots are high heels and extremely not practical, more party dress kind of appearance.
What does Grace do once Grace arrives?
I think so. Grace is going to like, you know how you're the host of the ball.
Oh yes,
so we
I
have
do know
that
that.
meeting at the when you're coming in and you're greeting everyone. Grace is like, Bernard, how are you? So lovely of you to throw a beautiful party.
It is lovely, and I think my memory must be failing because I don't recall inviting you. I don't remember sending it out. I must be getting forgetful in my old age.
That's okay. No formal invitations are needed between friends.
I see.
By the way, have you seen? And then she like gestures to like she's wearing a cravat. That's like I had this in my last station. It's Italian silk. I thought you would want to get a closer look. It seems like something you would enjoy.
And like I kind of like look around everyone else and I kind of like lean like imperceptibly in towards it and make like a show of just like, and then lean back out and go, oh, it's lovely. However, are you sure that's even real silk? I don't believe that a cravat like that looks to be made of something far more common.
Grace is like shoots you like a really dirty look and just says, oh, you do say such funny things sometimes.
Standing right behind you is, of course, Captain Croft, who is got a wry smile twisted over her face as she watches this interaction. Grace, you really need to work on your taste. And extends her arm out to you, Bernard, and says, Baron Valentine, Captain Croft. I don't believe we've been acquainted.
And I kind of like go, oh, this is Captain Croft. And so like I very graciously like, take the hand. I'm like, oh, welcome to the party. And I see you brought, your other wonderful military friends. I'm so glad that we have the armed forces, serving and protecting our way of life. Why don't you come and enjoy some of the rewards that you've, been out there earning?
Anna sort of
and I kind of like make sure my mother's watching.
gives like a little look. Goodbye wave to Grace.
And I sleep off away from you without a second look.
Speaking of the entrance hallway,
yes.
At this moment, Thomas arrives with Jacob. Thomas is wearing, everyone's got to dress well for a party, but this is beyond what is required. He's wearing a elaborate, ornate coat with a purple cravat, and nothing quite matches, and then a white waistcoat. And Jacob is dressed like a curate, so he's got his...
He looks like...
But also, I think that he's also a little bit
next to
bad fashion too.
Yeah.
And I think also Jacob stands out extremely in this kind of situation because the kind of people here are not of a priestly bent or of a kind of scholarly bent. They're all dressed in their finery, and he kind of walks in, and I think Jacob's very nervous, kind of
Yeah, and I think as they're walking in, you kind of overhear Thomas saying, well, yes, I suppose that's true. You might have more in common with his younger brother, Mortimer.
I think Grace, being somewhat of a hot-blooded person, is still kind of prickling over the cravat situation, and seeing Thomas gets this idea in her head. So Grace kind of strides over. And it's probably the first time that we've spoken in a little while. And I think I know that I have that effect on you.
Yeah,
as well.
and Thomas is immediately blush.
You're right.
Red in the face straight away. And I think Jacob probably notices Thomas turn this shade of scarlet.
I think Grace isn't really introduced. It's a little bit a little familiar, and is oh, Thomas, you've never quite got the hang of this gestures to the clothing, have you?
Miss Thorne, it's been quite some time. And he goes to doff his hat, but he's not wearing a hat because it's been taken off as he enters in the entering hall.
And so you see Grace slowly undoes her own cravat, and then takes this won't do. This does not match. Luckily, I have one.
Thomas
you can have mine.
Yeah, you can have mine. I want to suggest. Grace suggests as the so she does the cravat up beautifully. Is oh, you know that the Baron does love his cravats. Be sure to mention this Italian silk.
So you don't need to...
Did you...
Yeah.
So you gave Thomas
really...
your cravat? No!
Yeah. And now
Unless you want to compel Thomas to do that.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay, well then
that's
it's
what
to Thomas that is all to.
Yes.
Okay. And I accept that. That sounds
No!
And so Thomas is as you're tying the cravat. And I want to play my monologue token on Grace. What on earth is she thinking? So the world around freezes. Zoom in into just Grace.
Mm-hmm. So it's actually Grace, like, as she's doing up the cravat on Thomas, and you can hear the voiceovers like, it's been such a hard few months of actual active military duty. We've had a lot of casualties. It's been very stressful. It's kind of nice to be back here in Habisher, with the parties and the gaudiness of these walls. It brings me back to a simpler time. And Thomas, same old Thomas, still so jumpy, still so obvious to read. He would never make it in the field. But it looks good in a cravat though, that's for sure. And then like you see Grace's hand like patting like the like this bit. All done.
So I think that Jacob might have served like as a military chaplain at some point, potentially with Grace, and may know some sort of compromising information, or have some very embarrassing sort of thing, or had some kind of...
Well, if you want to know something scandalous from Grace's past, you can offer me a result.
Is that right? So I use that...
So you have to...
from
Jacob.
Yes, I'm not sure if that's a good resolve offer.
That is good. Yeah. But generally you'd say more directly what it is. So I
would
like Jacob to have served in the military and know something compromising about
right. That. Say that. That's like, I think that Jacob knows something compromising about you and doesn't like the idea of you interacting with Thomas because Thomas is kind of his in. It's a bad connection. He doesn't like this start to his social life.
Okay, right. I've got one. Yes, but only if that information was that Grace was engaged to someone who horrendous, who like broke off the engagement. So essentially, Jacob knows that, but not the identity of that person.
That's great. Can we go with that? Yeah. So I offer you this resolve token. And so Jacob may not necessarily be using this right now as information, but he does probably want, he doesn't want Thomas to be associating with you. And I think Jacob kind of like sees this exchange and he kind of like walks up and like puts an arm around Thomas and says, weren't you meant to introduce me to your friend, the Baron? Who's throwing this wonderful party. Very nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. Enjoy Habisher. Thomas,
we will.
Don't forget the cravat is important.
Quite. What does Thomas see when Thomas approaches and he's like, Baron Valentine, and gives a little dip, and you can see Grace's cravat.
So Bernard is, of course, like engaged in conversation with Anna, as is, having the niceties, and look, like hears Thomas's voice and turns like the welcoming smile on his face, the joy at seeing him, and then looks at his face, and then looks down, and then his smile freezes, and he kind of like goes, "Oh, Thomas. You made it, but tell me, where did you get that fine cravat? I don't recall I haven't seen that on you before.
Oh yes, it's a real Italian silk also.
Oh, is it? Wonderful. Yes, wonderful. It's beautiful to see you, Thomas. And this must be your curate friend, Johnson,
Mr. Young.
Mr. Young, of course, Mr. Young. And I kind of like give him a perfunctory nod, kind of like, very good, like, it's sort of you.
You're not that important.
And then I go, well, Mr. Young, I have some other people I would like to introduce you to a little bit later. Thomas, it's lovely to see you. I just need to finish and I really want to like take him to a private room and just take the cravat off him and like have a conversation. But because like I know my mother's watching and I have to do this, otherwise she's going to make a huge problem. I have to like finish a little bit of business with Anna first.
Thomas is sort of like, I thought perhaps a dance. And your mother is totally watching everything you do tonight.
And I am torn, but I have to dance with Anna. I cannot dance. And I'm like, Thomas.
Yeah.
Of course, but later I have business to attend to first. I must greet some guests and I have to introduce Mr. Young to the other people for now. And then I kind of like wave towards a crowd of people like, yes.
So the last thing you see in this scene is like Baron Valentine moving away with Anna Croft and like Thomas's crestfallen face and like he's
I'm shooting longing gazes back.
I thought, and that's like kind of where we wrap up our first novel chapter.
It's so painful.
Aha!
So what we're going to do now is move on to the reputation phase. Reputation represents society's opinion of the major characters. So during the course of the game, in these phases, we'll see how society judges the actions of your characters, and you will gain negative or positive reputation as a result. So the first thing we're going to do, on your family background sheet, you should see a number of reputation criteria. So what we need to think about now is whether any of our major characters met any of the reputation criteria on the sheet. It can be positive, negative, or both. So you can have a positive met and a negative met. And usually this would be their behavior during the entire time since the last reputation phase. But since we've only played one novel chapter, it'll just be the previous novel chapter that just occurred. Has anyone got feelings about whether their character met any of these?
Yep. I have acted in obedience to society's conventions despite considerable hardship in doing so.
I would say so.
I think I got a lot of hardship. I'm very upset about it.
Definitely said no to a dance from someone you actually loved.
Who knows if I ever got that dance?
So that's one of your positive reputation criteria, right? So what you're going to do now is create a reputation tag. Reputation tags are descriptive words that show how society perceives your character, and they come in positive or negative, depending on whether you met the positive or negative reputation criteria. So now you've met the positive criteria, we need to decide together, what is it that society now thinks about Baron Valentine as the result of his actions?
Well, I don't like the word chivalrous, like in general, but I would like go for like genteel, maybe.
Genteel.
The other thing I would think about like something like attentive.
Attentive, yeah. So I stuck to my companion for the night, despite of course against I paid attention to everyone else. I was a great party host, of course, but I attended to dashing Captain Croft. I'm gonna go with genteel because I don't like the word chivalrous.
That's awesome.
So in contrast to yours, I think I definitely got it down.
Oh dear.
Because I gain a negative tag if I have publicly displayed strong emotions.
Oh, you did. Oh, you did.
Very public.
And what point?
Very emotional.
What moment are you thinking of here?
I'm thinking of the cravat moment, so I think I would put.
I kind of like reckless. But it could also be vengeful.
I think reckless I like because it's kind of like you're not really like people see you as not really sticking to boundaries and playing the game. Of Regency or England, where you're like, ooh, emotions. Oh, I've never felt those in my life.
Yeah.
So just to explain how these tags are used. So during the game, what you can do is use one of these tags to affect the story by trading it in for a resolve token and bringing its impact into play. So I think probably a good example of that is Thomas is inconsistent. So a way that could work is if Thomas had a potential suitor who is a connection, you could compel that connection not to pursue Thomas by saying,
Thomas is inconstant.
He's so inconstant, and you can use that Thomas's negative reputation tag against him. You're the only one who can use your positive reputation tags.
Okay.
Negative ones can be used by either you or somebody else, but if you use your own negative reputation tag, you have to use it against your interests. So you can't be like, I am proud and therefore I dress particularly well this morning. Exactly. So once a reputation tag is used, it gets erased from the sheet. And the reason why that's important is because if you get 3 of the same type of reputation tag, it will trigger a reputation condition. So I think that is just about to happen to me because I started the game with an extra negative reputation tag. Loath
as I am to say anything negative about Thomas, he does. Well, geez, it wasn't a very good look.
No, I think
it's that Grace to steer that whole interaction, like just especially someone who broke off an engagement with, and you're kind of like fraternizing in public, kind of just taking affection and attentions. I don't know about that.
Yeah, it probably counts as acted in contravention of society.
I would say
that that's the thing.
Yeah. He should have just disengaged and walked away.
Yes, he should have been like, "Don't you touch my cravat."
That's right.
Okay, so what word do we think might describe Thomas? I want to say
what's a word that means no backbone? Kind of like
spineless. Yeah, I think Thomas is a little bit spineless. I hate to say this.
Thomas now has 3 negative reputation tags, which is going to trigger a reputation condition, and that condition is going to last until basically Thomas drops below 3 negative reputation tags. So in the next novel chapter, I'm going to try and use these against myself. so I can get rid of my reputation condition.
Wonderful.
But for now, I have got 2 options on my sheet. I could either take mind your own business, others distrust you and refuse to participate in your schemes and plans, or fracture. Someone close to you is appalled by your behavior and refuses to talk to you. So I'm going to choose mind your own business. So others distrust you and refuse to participate in your schemes and plans. And that definitely sounds like Jacob.
Oh God, he's not on board with this.
Yes.
He is really not on board with this at all.
Now that the reputation condition has been triggered, we immediately have a short scene that shows like the impact of that condition in Thomas's life.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to frame a scene that demonstrates how others distrust Thomas and refuse to participate in his schemes and plans. I think it should probably be something with Jacob.
I think so.
Yeah. I think the scene is Thomas and Jacob walking around the vicarage, which is currently in possession by like a very old vicar who's about to pass on, and they're kind of
Jacob's
looking
courting
it up.
Yeah. Yes.
They're looking at it like you'd look at, a piece of meat, like it's kind of like that. Tell me, what did you think of the Baron Valentine?
Well, I didn't get to talk to him very much. I mean, I thought you were going to, introduce me to him a little bit better and kind of sit us down, have a bit of a talk, because I believe he has a lot of influence with the owner of this vicarage, Lord Thorsby.
I have a chance, a small chance, that the Baron and I may indeed become connected. Currently, I'm aware that my reputation is such that the Baron's mother would surely refuse such a match.
Absolutely, she would. I mean, the state that you're in right now with your reputation in this town, from what I have been told by people around me, you seem to have been misrepresenting your situation a little bit to me.
Now there is a great rivalry between Grace and the Baron. My plan, since I doubt I can bring myself up to the level of repute required, is that by playing off Miss Thorne and Baron Valentine, I may lower both their reputes. Once the Baron's repute has been lowered, then his mother, I'm guessing, will cease to care about his actions. I'm aware there is another brother who is thought of quite favourably.
So you seek to drag others down into your own mud. You say you can't ascend and make yourself a better person, so you're going to pull everyone down to your own level.
I thought you would be supportive. Is that not more or less what you're doing in regards to the vicar?
Not at all. I'm just making sure that I establish myself as a respectful and well-knowledge person to follow along after this vicar moves on. You're talking about pulling other people down, destroying the reputation they built for themselves.
I apologize if I've offended you, Jacob. I thought perhaps we were more similar than I have now begun to discover.
I
think that's the end of that scene.
So good. I love it.
So that brings
Mortimer
us
would
to
not
the
approve.
end of the reputation phase, which means we now enter the next phase of the game, Rumour and Scandal. In this phase, we are going to make up the juicy gossip that is circulating through the drawing rooms of the town. So we will each get 2 turns. It will go from me round to Sam, and then you'll have a double turn. We'll go back around the other way. And during your turn, you can do one of 2 things. You can either create a new rumour. Rumours can be about anything. They can be about a major character. They can be about a connection. They can be about world events. For example, in a game with the military, a rumour that there is a war and, the military will be urgently called away.
Yes.
It's a very significant one. It affects Grace quite a lot. So you can create a rumour during your turn. Or if there is a rumour that's been created but has not been spread, you can spread the rumour. And what that means is, so a rumour that's been created but not spread is something that everyone's heard of, that people aren't sure whether it's true, and some people, have heard something different. A rumour that's spread is one that has been talked about so widely that it is generally believed in society. So it may be true, it may be false, but society believes it to be true.
Yeah.
And the way that's represented is the rumours as well. So they've got a little circle next to them that you colour in when they're spread, and that represents a resolve token. And you can use that again in the same way to bring that rumour.
So we can, with rumours, we can evoke rumours in the same way we evoke other traits during play?
The same way as you can, evoke reputation tags. So basically, you bring it into the story to change the story, and then you rub out the little thing.
So I might bring that up in an emotionally pivotal moment.
Yep.
Or somewhere where they're being considered for something, and use my resolve token and say, well, I think that this rumor is...
You don't even have to use your own resolve token. You can use the resolve token on the rumor.
Oh, so that's part of the rumor. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
If it's still there.
If
someone else has used it, then it's
okay, great.
So I will begin. Captain Croft
I was also going to
is about to receive a big promotion.
Oh...
That's so funny because I was going to do, is about to receive an award. Yeah, I'm going to spread that rumour. Because I do.
That I want to spread a rumour about Mortimer, that he has just made a big breakthrough in horticulture. For my other one, the rumour is that Bernard Valentine is looking to settle down. That one, I think I know who might be spreading that, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, I should mention as well that as we've been doing, Rumour Scandal is a player level exercise, so it's not your major characters spreading these rumours. We're just talking about what's going on in society.
That was definitely Hilda.
I think that's just speculation.
So someone's like, well, Hilda's been talking so much about the dynasty passing on. I wonder if there's something wrong with her health.
Oh no!
Oh, he lost at the end. I'm gonna spread it. Does not mean it's true at all, and I hope Hilda lives many long and happy years.
I don't.
And now that we've finished creating our Rumour Scandal, what happens is news doesn't stay current for long, especially if nobody's talking about it. So the rumours that did not get spread are going to start to fade out. And if they still haven't been spread by the end of the next Rumour and Scandal phase, then they get nixed. So I'm going to mark fade out for the ones we did not spread. And that is the Rumour and Scandal phase.
And can they only be spread during that phase? So that's pure. Okay, so it's kind of like the players choose what they really want to focus on.
Yeah,
exactly. Nice mechanic. I like it.
Have gotten
that's
into
very
the
fun.
Intention
that's very fun. So someone's making a rumor, you're like, I don't know about that one. How about this? And I would be like, yeah.
And then you know that there's...
I like it.
Brings it in.
That's cool. That's fun.
So after the Rumour and Scandal phase, we now move on to the Epistolary phase, which is a phase for the writing of letters. Now, during this phase, each player and the facilitator can write up to 2 letters, and these letters can be either from a major character or a connection that we control. When you write a letter, you basically dictate the content of the letter out loud. Dear blah, 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 from blah. And if you want a letter to be written to you, you can spend a resolve token to essentially compel that to happen.
So 2 letters per player?
2 letters, up to 2 letters per player. Okay. And the resolve tokens apply as normal. If you want to talk about things that haven't happened yet, you can use a resolve token or, all that kind of thing.
I actually had an idea for a compel for Grace to receive a letter from an information broker type person, who's writing about sort of the financial positions as publicly known around town. So how rich everyone is. And I would like to receive that as a report.
Okay. You want to receive a report of everybody else's wealth. As it's not from any major character or connection, your resolve token just gets discarded and it happens. So do you want to tell us exactly what you want to find out? Because it's your token, you can decide who is wealthy.
I want to find out who is the most
decision,
wealthy.
It's in your hands.
No, I think it'd be more fun if you pick for me.
Okay. Dear Miss Thorne, please find and close the current tax records as accessed by your truly in a completely legal manner. As you will see, I have highlighted those with incomes above $5,000 a year. May I identify in your local area a Baron Valentine, a Hilda Valentine, and a Christine Greenwich.
Ooh.
By the way, I hear that Captain Croft is about to receive a promotion. Please congratulate her from me.
I would also like to compel a letter from Mortimer to Bernard, if possible, informing me of what, maybe what's going on, what he's been working on at the university and asking me. So do I need to state exactly what I'd like to receive? So I think
The gist of it, yes.
Yeah, I would like to have an update on his work. He always sends me an update on his work and what he's been doing at the university, as well as another urge to reconsider my lifestyle.
Can I write a letter from Hilda to Mortimer that happens before the letter that
You can, yes, absolutely you may.
And then you can go ahead with Mortimer's letter.
Yes, please.
So Hilda is going to write a letter to Mortimer. Dear Mortimer. Oh, how these times do try me. It is so lucky that I have one son who I can rely and depend upon, who makes me happy and proud, unlike my eldest burden. I have gone ahead with what you suggested and informed Bernard that he must marry within the next 2 months. And I have suggested that he pursue arrangements with Captain Croft. Mortimer, your brother is weak of will and strong of partying. I know that things are going well for you at the university, but I cannot forbear from asking you to return to our town to babysit Bernard until he is successfully engaged. Your loving mother, Hilda.
You traitor! What are you doing dispensing marriage advice to Hilda?
So then you get a letter.
I get a letter from Mortimer.
It's like scented. As you open it, it's like, my dearest brother Bernard. I understand you will be wed within a few months, and I congratulate you on turning a new leaf. However, I understand how difficult it may be to grow towards the sunlight. Therefore, I will be coming home for some short time during this difficult time for you and provide you with the support that you need to overcome any thorns in your way. I wholeheartedly approve of the direction Mother has taken your life and cannot wait to see you wed. Yours, Mortimer. P.S. I shall be in Habishire in about 3 days' time. Please ensure my room is ready.
Wow. God.
Free of all the debauchery party messes that are often left in such places.
I have a letter from Thomas to Grace. Dear Miss Thorne, it was such a delight to see you at the party so recently hosted by the Baron. I know it has been quite some time before that since we had talked. And yet, when you replaced my cravat with yours, it felt as if not a day had passed. I cannot pretend to fake the reasons for what I did. I only beg your understanding. For, you know, as a younger son, there are limited opportunities offered to us. I hope that we can move forward from what occurred to us in the past and resume our friendship. Oh, can I pay a resolve token?
Yeah.
To say that Thomas knows from when they were previously friends that Grace has had feelings towards Anna Croft.
Sure. Feelings which are strong and passionate.
As you know, I am very good friends with the Baron Valentine. Like, you have nothing to fear on my part. It seems that the Baron Valentine has taken a concerted interest in Captain Croft. They were virtually inseparable during the last party, and I expect to hear wedding bells any day now. I suppose this is a just desserts for the acts of my past and the way I treated you. Yours sincerely, Thomas.
I also have a letter from Bernard to Jacob. It's kind of like, it's got like wine splatters on it, and like it's really poorly penned.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously it was written while I was like, you know, in a very
In
like...
the throes of...
Right, I was in a very impassioned state later in the evening. And I read, Dear Mr. Young, it was wonderful to meet you at the ball at my Ipswich County Manor on this and X the date. thank you so much for coming along, and I do hope you made some useful connections in this town. And I want to be the first to welcome you to our village, and I will be glad to see you around, in the years to come. I did notice that last night you spent a lot of time with my friend Thomas. I also noticed that you had a small run-in with one Grace Thorne. Now, that woman is not to be trusted. I wish to let you know that she is a scurrilous individual who will just do terrible things to you. She will betray your trust. She will destroy everything she comes across. Please, at all cost, keep yourself and Thomas away from this Grace Thorne. And can I add in a compel to add some sort of weight of authority behind it?
Would you like to use the reckless tag perhaps? Because that seems like what you were saying about Grace.
Yes, I want to encourage, I want to impress upon Jacob exactly how bad this Grace Thorne is, and why he and Thomas should steer extremely clear. And I will do everything I can to see that you are more integrated into the village life. And it's very clear that I will do my best to see you get that vicarage or after.
Yeah, nice.
Yes.
We will erase this reckless tag as it gets traded in for a resolve token,
and this will get offered to V from you.
To Grace.
To Grace. So as normal, you have your options. Do you want to accept?
I will accept that.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Excellent. So just to zoom in on what happened there, we had a situation where the using that tag was harmful to Grace's interest, but it was also a compel for Jacob to feel a certain way. When you end up in a situation where a resolve tag affects a major character and a connection, it goes to the major character. Because they're just more important.
I'm ready with my letter. Grace pens a letter to Captain Croft. Dear Captain Croft, I've seen it in the official gazette that you are to be Army Gazette that you are to be promoted next week. I would like an opportunity to congratulate you in person before the official ceremony. I would welcome the opportunity to receive you at our estate for tea by way of congratulations. Of course, my father would also love the opportunity to do so. Sincerely, Grace Thorne.
I don't think I need a second letter. The only other, I would like to put an eclipse letter without writing it, that I send a formal complaint to my mother that Mortimer is coming to stay, and I heard nothing about it, and he's gotten to his head that I'm to marry, and where is this coming from?
Are you in the habit of writing letters to your mother, even though you
live in the same household? I avoid trying to see her whenever possible.
So, now we have finished the epistolary phase, we come back around to the second novel chapter of our cycle. And for this, I think there is a few one-on-one conversations that need to occur here. So I'm going to suggest that we have a visitation chapter. How do people feel about that?
I think that's perfect.
I love visitation.
A lot of personal business to sort out.
So during a visitation chapter, each person, including the facilitator, has an opportunity to frame a scene. They can decide exactly who they want to be in the scene, but it has to involve either their major character or a connection they control, or both. So have a think about what scene you might want to see. I think we know what scene Veronica might want to see.
I would like to see this scene as well.
V, would you like to set the scene for us, since this is your visitation?
Yes. When Captain Croft arrives in full military regalia and walks down, gets shown into the drawing room, she has to walk through this long corridor of many thorns over the years in various military parades, and it's all army commander and really high ranking people in the army. And obviously as she gets closer to the drawing room and it's more recent, it's people she recognizes from higher up in the military as well. And then she gets shown into the drawing room and it's just Grace in there. She's as Grace is my father will be along shortly. He's still out on his morning ride, so it'll be unfortunately just us two for a half hour or so. So Grace sits down sort of opposite Captain Croft. There's tea and biscuits between them.
Captain Croft looks a little bit taken aback that your father is not in attendance and sits down at a very respectable distance, as two ladies who are left alone should, and says, well, the Colonel will be joining us later.
Congratulations on your promotion. You must be feeling extremely proud of yourself.
Indeed, it's been a long time coming. Had to work very hard for it. We're not all from such fortunate backgrounds. And she takes a little biscuit and dips it in some tea.
And like the biscuit has is being imprinted with like our family emblem, which is like a little
my
sword.
And no, I think, and as the family emblem dips in the tea, it like kind of dissolves.
Yeah.
So I did have something of substance to actually speak to you about.
Oh, indeed.
You wouldn't think me so naive a woman to not have noticed your indifference to me. May I suggest that that's stemming from you feel threatened by me?
This is a very forward conversation. For one to be having with one superior. May I remind you that even though we are not on the field, certain standards remain applying.
Standards do apply, though these walls have held many secrets over the years and will continue to do so. Congratulations on promotion. A lot of good words from someone from the Thorn household is likely to affect such forward progression in one's military career in the future. But I cannot help but notice that your promotion leaves an unfortunate gap in the ranks, and that an aspiring young woman that you've mentored since her youth and who has accomplished many feats in the military might do a good service to the forces in that position. And then I think like Grace like stirs the tea and like ting 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 tings. Then that's when she's like takes a drink and she says, after all, don't they say that one should keep one's enemies closest? So that's my compel.
Captain Croft will accept, but only if you will do her
A favor?
a favor. My promotion. As part of my new post, I am going to be sent into the middle of Europe. There is one delicate matter I could use your assistance with. You see, you may have noticed the behavior of a certain Baron Valentine towards me at the recent party.
I'm too genteel.
I can't imagine that would have been possible without the interference of some family members on both your behalves.
I don't know. I'm a very good judge of character. And my opinion was that he had delicate feelings arise in him during the course of our engagement. Now, I do not wish to offend such a powerful family, nor to have them think badly of me. Yet, to be honest, I am far too busy with my career for something silly like marriage. I need you to help get me out of this situation without anybody knowing that I declined to further our acquaintance. I know you two grew up together.
Yeah, I will take that condition.
Okay, excellent.
And I think Grace is like nods to like her assent to that, but what she actually says is, "So you never think of marriage?"
I have much more important things on my mind. If the French continue on building up their naval forces as they have, we're not going to stand a chance if we wish to cut them off before they reach the border.
That's a good point. Good point.
Sam, do you know what scene you would like to see for your visitation?
Mortimer? I think Mortimer
arriving?
I think Mortimer arriving. And I think the scene is we are in the gardens, of course.
He's picking up flowers.
Well, the thing is, I've been informed he arrived, and like I'm showing by my servants to the garden.
Yes, right.
Where he's looking over my flowers critically.
Yeah, so Mortimer's like, you see him take like a pair of like garden scissors and like taking out the big, like the best bits of of flowers and it looks like he's making a bouquet to put in his room, and he says, "Unfortunately, the rest of these just won't do. They're probably going to shrivel up and die anyway."
And I kind of shrug and I go, "Hey, you're the one who always knew about the flowers. I mean, sure, anything you see here, you can take. None of this is mine anyway. We just get our gardener to do all this. But I hear you've been doing a lot of work on flowers over at the university." And I kind of like slide up to him and just put my arm around him in like brotherly embrace.
And Mortimer like shrugs you off and says, "Brother, come have a seat." let's chat, and like we used to in the old days. I have some news to tell you.
And I guess I walk over a little bit, like with a little bit of reservation on my face. Yeah. I'm not used to him being so forthwith. And I take a seat and I go, yes, what advice do you wish to dispense?
Well, the thing is, I'm engaged.
Engaged? To who? You? You're engaged? When did this happen?
Well...
And why didn't you write of it in your letter? You said you told me you were just coming to visit. Why didn't you tell me you'd been engaged? Let's have a party.
Well, we can't yet, unfortunately. Gregory, he is traditional. His family is very traditional, and they're quite aware that my older brother is not yet married, and so Gregory does not want to go public with our engagement or connection even until such time as, and like he like throws his hand up, you are married!
No, take my blessing, it's fine, it will all work out. I'm sure Mother will approve of somebody getting married.
Mother definitely does not approve! I don't approve!
And she's like yelling down from the window, and I'm like, oh. So let me get this straight. You'd like to marry Gregory, and you want me to get married to somebody instead. Now I can't help but feel a little bit set upon recently. Here I am, minding my own business, throwing the greatest parties that Ipswich has ever known, and suddenly Mother's going on about marriage, and you're writing me letters about marriage. Mortimer, you've never talked about marriage in your entire life up to this point. What is this sudden obsession with marriage?
It was not sudden, brother. It was 3 years of college. But you don't know of such things. Deep feelings. You are one of those surface plants that
yes, I am. I'm quite happy with it too. It's a wonderful way to be. You should try it.
Surely, brother, there is someone who has pulled at your heartstrings, who you care about deeply, and would do anything for. Monologue token, that's this one.
Okay, fair enough. He's largely bewildered by your news of Gregory, because as far as he's aware, Mortimer loves nothing but his work.
Yes.
And he can't help but feel this whole thing is a little bit odd and a little bit rushed, and very odd that he didn't write about it in the letter. He does understand the sort of proprietor of the situation, and can see, like, you know, it makes sense what you're saying about needing to be married before him, but he is massively selfish. And,
yeah, definitely.
And he's like, if I can't marry Thomas, then I won't marry anyone. So either I need to sabotage your relationship with Gregory, find someone to marry in the next 2 or 3 months who is Thomas, or somehow convince you that I'm in a situation where you can go ahead and get married, and then when you've done that, I can just pull out of the situation. So maybe make a breakable vow, a sort of arrangement of convenience maybe with this Anna Croft. So that's kind of the plan forming in Bernard's mind right now.
Does Bernard actually say anything back to Mortimer?
So back to Mortimer, he goes, no, there is no one I love. There's no one I love nothing but the thrill of living well.
Then it is as I feared. In a way, though, if you have not had these feelings for anyone in these long years, brother, you're probably not going to develop them at any point. So anyone is fine, really. Anyone. I best prepare. There's much to be done while I'm here. And he's like, if you've got a chance, you should read my paper, though. It's such fine work. And then he like leaves you with it.
Now, before you go, I would like to request a special like bouquet. I wish I kind of want to make it out to be for myself, but really,
I see. Right?
Really, it's for Thomas.
Yeah, okay.
And awesome. I kind of go, do you know of like, you know, I've been kind of feeling a little bit, you know, lacking color in my life lately. Yeah. Could you perhaps, I see you've kind of chosen some nice bouquets. I don't know anything about flowers. Could you maybe put together some collection of plants or herbs or whatever you do, and that you know, kind of will give a bit of color to my life?
Absolutely. and Mortimer does. You notice
I want to know what the heck Mortimer is thinking on this.
No,
can
be
I
played.
It can only be played on major characters.
Oh, on major characters? Okay, well, I would like to know what Mortimer's stake in this is, if
Mortimer
possible.
is actually just really in love. Like, you see the manuscript he's written is, like, co-authored by
Does he actually,
Gregory.
like, love somebody?
Yeah,
wow.
He's in love with
Mortimer?
Gregory.
I have a scene between Christine and Baron Valentine.
Mm-hmm.
And
so Christine is the sister of
Thomas's older sister, who's like going to inherit everything and is very wealthy. And I'm going to use the resolve token from the rumor that I created at the beginning of the game, which is Thomas broke off the engagement due to the poor financial situation.
Cross that out. Family. Yep.
If
so does it
Grace, do you accept that Christine is going to act on this rumour in a way that is harmful to your interests. Okay.
So once you've used a rumour, it gets crossed out.
Mm-hmm. Once you use the resolve token from a rumour that's been spread, it gets crossed out.
Okay.
Correct.
That's the end of that
Yeah.
rumour.
So basically, it's like it's had its impact on
of
society.
course. Nice.
The servant has run to you, Baron, being like, "Oh, there's like a guest to meet you in the
I am famous.
waiting room," and then but doesn't tell you who it is.
That's normal.
Many people seek my this does happen. I receive a lot of visitors.
So Baron Valentine walks into the sitting room. There's no one there, and then he sits down and waits for some period of time, and then strides into the room like a tall for a woman. She's got like blondie brown hair that's like done in an impeccable hairdo, and she's wearing a very expensive dress that's like also like a power dress. Just says like, "I'm business."
Yeah.
And
she's obviously very wealthy.
Yes.
Or like from the way she dresses, she seems wealthy.
She seems wealthy, and you've never seen her before. And she just strides into the room and like strides around the room in a big lap, taking in everything and just being like, And then eventually she like flips her head round and fixes her eyes on you, and she's like, "So you are the Baron Valentine then?"
You find me at a disadvantage. You seem to know who I am, but I have no idea who you are.
"Yes." And then she sits down and takes like a little biscuit off the tray and eats the entire biscuit before she continues. And then says, "Yes, Thomas has told me much of you.
You know Thomas.
And I see now he was correct. Well, I wish you all the happiness."
And like my face is just like I'm like very confused by what she's talking about, and I'm like, "Well, thank you very much, but I'm not entirely sure I know to what you're referring. What did dear Thomas say to you? Also, how do you know
Yes,
Thomas?
Forgive me, how rude. I am Christine Granite. Oh, and I'll tell Thomas that was your reaction."
And I'll go, well, and I just kind of like fumble over words for a minute, and I'm like, "Well, what have you come here for? I mean, Thomas and I speak regularly. He's never mentioned you before.
No.
How did you even find me?"
Now look, my brother is a troublesome fellow, and I always seem to be cleaning up his messes. And I'm here on that same kind of errand. You see, my brother's reputation in town has rather suffered, and it's all as a result of that unbearable Grace Thorne.
Grace Thorne? Yes, she has done untold damage to many in this town.
Finally, I see you talking sense. Now, you'll know that Thomas's reputation has largely been damaged because he called off the engagement with her very wisely, to my view. And yet there is no complete consensus in society as to why this was. Sure, the predominant rumour was that it was financial ruin, but rumours are not enough to save Thomas's reputation. If there was only some way to prove that the family was under financial duress, then no one could blame Thomas for acting as he did, and his reputation would be cleared. And my understanding is that would be much to your advantage.
Well, I mean, what you say seems very reasonable, and Thomas, as my dear friend, I wish to clear his name of anything. But how can we possibly prove that the Thorne family doesn't have the fortunes that they once did? You know, they're respected, as much as I loathe to say it, as a dynasty. People never believe any of it.
Baron, I cannot be expected to do everything. Now, I have spent quite enough time here. I have urgent business in London. I bid you good day, my dear sir. And she sweeps out of the room.
Very good.
And this brings us to the reputation phase.
Oh.
So, same as we did last time, let us assess character's reputation criteria. We saw none of Thomas, so his reputation
is untouched. It's still in the dirt.
I actually did write a letter during the epistolary phase,
That's
but
true.
I still don't think that helped him very much.
I allowed others of lesser rank to talk down to you and treat you as an inferior.
Oh, that's true. You definitely did that
yeah.
because new money talking to the peerage like that would be.
But I was eager. Like I was eager for it. I was so ready for that.
Yeah.
Like her sweeping in. I'm like, yeah, sure.
So what adjective do you think?
I would say like avaricious, sort of like I'm greedy for things. Like I want, like I'm willing to let people treat me that way because I want something from it. So sort of like grasping.
Grasping is good.
Grasping is kind of what I'm going for there.
Do you feel like the conversation I had with Captain Croft was making a sacrifice or denying my own desires to preserve the dignity of yourself or others in an unbecoming...
Denying your own desires? You seemed pretty close to indulging your desires, honestly, more than denying them. You were kind of like you're kind of like testing the waters for propositions.
I know. I don't think I went up or down.
That is the end of reputation, which then... So we don't have a second Rumour Scandal phase in this cycle. Mm-hmm. So we move straight on to Epistolary. Mm-hmm. So we write more letters.
More letters. Mm-hmm. I've got letters.
Got letters?
So letters. I think Grace says, Dear Bernard, I'm sorry. And then it's like sort of crossed out. It's like Baron Valentine.
Oh, wow. She wants something.
Yeah. Our playful rivalry over the years has brought us both much joy. I don't think I'm stepping the boundaries to say that this rivalry is indeed a type of friendship. I myself can say that I've had a lot of joy, like shaky handwriting, in our interactions together over the years, and would love to invite you to go hunting for a ride in the woods together, as we do so love to enjoy a bit of fresh air. I've heard some thoughts from Captain Croft about your connection, and I'm sure you've also got questions for me in regards to my relationship with Thomas. So let us go for a hunt together and let's wear our hearts on our sleeves.
I'd like to write a letter from Bernard to Grace, if that's possible.
Yep.
Dear Miss Thorne, regarding your missive of the XX of August, absolutely, I feel like we've had a lot of differences over the years, but I would love to talk to you and kind of sort out our differences. A hunting trip sounds like the perfect environment for something like that, where we can talk of this and that. Truly, maybe if we get to know each other very well, we may find that we are not as different as we feel, and we can come together in a common cause, and open our hearts unto each other. I would be delighted to join you on this hunting trip. Looking forward to setting a date.
Oh man, I love the cross purposes. It's so good. Can I
What a hunt.
use a resolve token to compel the Baron to send me those flowers, which I would like to actually say get married immediately in horticultural language?
Yes, I will accept that. No questions asked.
I give this to you. So do you want to describe what the flowers look like?
Well, yeah. So I mean, so the Baron Valentine kind of just received it as yeah, these look good enough, and kind of sent them via an anonymous missive. There's a little note inside them that just has B with a little flourish. Yeah. So it's really clear who it's from. But Thomas will know. And they're kind of it's sort of a little heart-shaped bouquet. So it's kind of this very vibrant reds and yellows and
I will pay a resolve token to the pool to have Thomas be an amateur horticulturalist.
Yes.
Be able to
Thank you, please.
So Thomas gets a message from Bernard that says, "Get married immediately."
In flower speak.
In flower speak, and thus assumes that must be very hush hush, but is delighted and surprised by Bernard's sudden grasp of the horticultural language. Thomas writes a letter to Jacob and says, "Dear Jacob, I need your opinion as a man of God about the dilemma that is before me, and I hope our previous conversation does not sour your opinion. I have received a proposal from Baron Valentine, yet it was written to me in a clandestine way, and I can only take from this that Baron Valentine wishes us to be married in secret. Yeah, as a result of my reputation, I would have no hesitation, except that I fear that were his family to find out, he may find himself disinherited and us both penniless. And as you will understand, no respectable man can survive on under £300 a year, especially not Baron Valentine.
It's true.
It's very true.
Very good.
So I wish your counsel, do you think that I ought to accept the Baron's offer or to refuse him, as pained as I would be to do so?
I was thinking of invoking like spineless in terms of like lacking sort of
if you're wondering,
the will to act on it, and like very much entirely outsourcing it to Jacob, so that like he's going to basically follow along with whatever Jacob suggests. Because
yes,
is that a reasonable
perfect thing?
Yeah. So I would like to.
So you don't need to use that result because I can see you trading.
There. Okay.
So
Very
you're
very out of his
compelling
depth.
Thomas to just go along with whatever Jacob
Whatever
says.
Jacob says. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I want to write another love letter to Anna. Congratulations once again on your promotion. That you looked very dashing, Captain, as they affixed your new ranks and insignia onto your uniform the other day. Very proud. And it's like, ha. I regret the fact that this will take you further afield, and it brings me some sadness to see you travel so far away from home. Let us spend some time together before that happens.
Oh my gosh.
Cutie. Baron.
Yes, I have a letter to Anna as well. Dearest Anna, you are an accomplished career woman. You have, in the military distinguished yourself. You have this big award coming up that everybody's talking about. In many ways, you are, the ideal sort of person that one would like to spend their life with. And I believe that my mother is of the same opinion. My brother is of the same opinion. Many people admire you, and I know that you think my behavior towards you has been uncommonly curious of late. I have found myself in a particular tricky situation from which I can extricate myself only by setting up a mutual arrangement of convenience. One that I hope that you will be able to assist me with, and I can assure you that I will repay you in whatever way is necessary. I will do whatever I can for you. Let us meet again at once to have a conversation about what I think, and I promise you that nothing untoward will happen. Yours in desperation, Baron Valentine.
I love it.
So now we have finished our first cycle. Mm-hmm. We go into the upkeep phase, and in the upkeep phase, we do a series of things just to get the game ready for our next cycle.
I was saving this for Thomas, but he never appeared.
It's true, he didn't. But that's the first thing that happens. So anyone who has still got their Monologue token has to play it.
Do I set a scene in which...
You can, or you can ask a question. That's the other thing.
Okay. I actually kind of want to know what Grace is thinking about, like, in terms of her intentions, like, with Thomas, I think. Rather, like, what is she actually hoping to gain from this playing with his affections?
He wrote you a letter. You didn't write back to him.
What was the letter that he wrote? Oh yeah, that's right. All those years. Okay, so the scene is that Grace is like clearing out her desk, like she's like tidying up, and she finds this letter from Thomas from like weeks ago, and she's like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about this, and she like, you can see that she like folds it in half and then just like throws it away, and then she like, and then picks it up again and unfolds it. And she's like just idly reading it, and you can hear Grace being like, oh, Thomas, I once held such high hopes for him. I thought he would be the ticket to the future I wanted. From a good family, good prospects, though those are doubtful now, I suppose. But it just wasn't meant to be. I found him to be two-faced in a way that lacked a moral compass kind of thing, like a
sort of the way he navigates the world.
Yeah, his
worldview.
Exactly. He's like a spinning compass. It was around that time that I met Anna for the first time in the regiment. She was always to the point, direct. Always knew what she wanted, and it was so clear to me where my heart lay, but there was so much pulling us apart.
So now we
Thomas,
all get
he's like the whipping boy.
Everyone gets their monologue tokens back for the next cycle.
Cool.
As the facilitator, I refresh my resolve tokens to 3. The next thing we're going to do is create our inner conflicts. So on this section of the inner conflict section of your character role sheet, you will see where it says inner conflict. So in games of 4 cycles or more, every major character has an inner conflict, and that's sort of 2 forces that they are torn between. For example, should they choose a suitor out of love, or should they marry for wealth? Your inner conflict will be progressed in subsequent upkeep phases and completed in accordance with your character's behavior. As this is the first upkeep of the game, we are going to create our inner conflicts. So when you do this, you want to create a broad conflict rather than a specific one. So for example, love and wealth versus marrying George and leaving with Henry for the continent. So have a think about what that might be. And when you know, just write it at the top of the inner conflict and also write it on the public information sheet here next to your character.
Do you think it would make sense for Grace to have something like passion versus
ambition maybe? Sounds like it might fit Grace.
Okay, so I've got passion and ambition.
You're like, do I marry this lady? Or do I use her to advance my career?
I don't know. I'm going to sound this one. I think for Bernard, a lot of it is future versus the present.
Yes!
Very much the now versus going forward.
So true.
Maybe a way of phrasing that would be like hedonism versus security.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Thomas's one is hard.
Thomas is
really torn between like safety on one hand, definitely, versus I think independence, making his own choices. So now we've created our inner conflicts. The next thing we do in upkeep phase is assess our desires. Now, at this juncture, you have the opportunity to replace your desire if you've achieved it, if it's impossible to achieve it, or if you think it's no longer interesting for your character to strive towards it. As this is the first cycle, usually you wouldn't expect to be replacing your desire too soon, but it still does give us a good opportunity to look at them and consider whether they are still relevant. I think Thomas's one is pretty relevant.
Mine's like on the line, but I think it would be interesting to do it for one more cycle.
I think mine's definitely.
Yours is like basically the major problem
Thomas
of
is
your
my
life.
project.
Yeah.
So the next thing we're going to do is review collaboration. So basically that just means that we look at the decisions we made and we sort of say, hey, are these still how our game is progressing? Do we want to change anything?
I actually think in terms of tone, we are drifting a little bit into farcical, but that's okay. Like romantic, there was still a lot of comedy.
Yeah.
I just note that we also need our romantic kisses.
And the last thing in the upkeep phase is if anyone has an expanded backstory action, but those come as a result of completing inner conflicts, so none of us have that yet. So that means we are ready for the next cycle.
Nice.
Woohoo!